I'm here with Stacy Medalinsky and Angie McCrae, hosts of This Food, That Wine, and they're going to give us some tips about food and wine.
So a lot of people, they wonder about the whole swirling
Right.
thing. You always see people swirling. It actually releases the aromas. It just makes it easier to smell. So you give the one a swirl, and then you stick your nose right in. Make sure you know what you're doing. You get a lot more aroma when you actually give it a little bit of a swirl. And then when you're tasting the wine, you think about not just how it tastes, but how it feels in your mouth once you swallow it, how long the flavors hang around. That's called the finish of a wine. So let's give this wine a taste. This is a really full-bodied white wine. It really fills your mouth. And I find once you've tasted it, it kind of hangs out in your mouth for a while. It's still tasting you. It's kind of tart. That's the finish of the wine, so it's got a nice long finish.
For entertaining, you want to keep things as simple as possible. Like, that's the number one rule. So a great way to do that is to make a batch of soup and then put them in little soup shooters. So you can do this in the winter and then have it nice and hot, or you can do it in the summer and have a nice cold soup. And we've paired the Chardonnay with this creamy onion, like a roasted onion and garlic soup. You basically just cut some onions, throw in some garlic, some chicken stock, some wine, of course. And you usually cook with the wine that you're drinking, unless it's really expensive wine, and then just go with the same grape. It's a great way to match, and so down the hatch.
Alright, let's try it.
So what's a good tip for people who don't really know how to pair dishes? What's a good thing to keep in mind?
Well, I think the most important thing for sure is balance. So you don't want, if you're going to have a really big, heavy piece of meat or something like a steak or a cooked rare, it's got a lot of flavor, it's got a lot of texture. If you put it with a really light-bodied wine, you're not going to taste the wine. So it's about balance for sure.
So this is a main that we have. It's ghost cheese stuffed pork tenderloin, and then it comes with a cherry reduction sauce. So in that sauce is just some red wine and some balsamic vinegar. It's super simple and super clean. So if you've got a main course that you love and you know how to cook all the elements, you can take that main course and turn it into an hors d'oeuvre.
And it's amazing because the pork is the protein in the dish, but that's not the main flavor. Pork is actually a really mild flavor. So when you look at this, the cherry is definitely the dominant flavor. And we've actually paired it with the red wine. This is paired with Merlot. And this is the Plantatree Merlot, so the partner wine for the Chardonnay. And this one is a really soft, fruity wine. It's got quite a lot of body and quite a lot of flavor, but it's not harsh in your mouth. It's just kind of smooth and velvety. And so it works really well, even though it's a light meat and a very delicate flavor to the meat. It's not going to overpower it, but it really matches the flavor of the cherry.
Now, Christine has a bit of a crunch, so get ready.
Those cherries.
See, that flavor is the one that really pops in your mouth.
If you wonder, like, how am I going to make this sauce match what I'm serving? Cook with the wine you're serving. It's like the easiest way to make a food match.
Yeah, because you've already got the flavors of the wine in the dish, so it's super simple.
Room temperature doesn't mean room temperature kitchen. So if you're cooking a big dinner for everybody and you've got this beautiful wine that you've chosen for it, don't put the wine out on the counter while you're cooking, because it'll actually heat up the wine a little bit, and then it's supposed to be just below room temperature.
So actually popping your red wine in the fridge for like 15-20 minutes is a great way to really bring out the best of your red wine. If you let the wine kind of hang out in your mouth for a little bit and swirl it around and even kind of suck a little bit of air in over top of the wine in your mouth, it actually makes the flavors pop in your mouth, so you actually taste more.
Can you demo a slurp?
There you have it. It's not very classy, but it's a great way to really make the flavors pop in.
Okay, so just to recap, I guess, we could tell people 3 things to remember when it comes to food and wine pairing. Balance is one, right?
For sure. Picking the dominant flavor and trying to match a wine to that. And then we've got mirroring and contrasting. Mirroring is when you're taking something like this soup, which is rich and creamy and buttery, and picking a wine that also has that nice rich texture to it.
Which is mirroring, yeah.
Exactly. And contrasting is finding something that's completely different but still works. So a really great example of that is something like cheese, like a Stilton cheese or any kind of blue cheese with port. It's a classic pairing, but obviously the port is not mirroring the cheese. The cheese is salty and stinky and pungent, and the wine is smooth and sweet and intense, and it's a really nice balance.
And then with cooking with wine, use the wine you're going to drink in the food.
Exactly. Unless you have some really big, beautiful bottle of wine that you've been saving that's worth a good amount of money.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed the video on that last slide. I thought those Canadian ladies did a real nice job of keeping it simple, nice practical tips for us. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Now let's move into advanced wine and food pairings. Food types are the primary items analyzed in a dish to determine the wine match. So the more familiar we are with the basic products, the cooking techniques, and the sauces, the more effective we can be at modifying the food's weight, the flavor, the texture levels so they pair well with wine. On the food side, we say, when in doubt, throw it out. Here we say, when in doubt, serve something that kind of goes with anything. Some components in some styles of wine make them user-friendly or food-friendly. So if you're in doubt, use one of those that kind of goes with anything. User-friendly wines pair successfully with many food types and dishes because they have carbonated, like champagne, goes with a lot of stuff. They have moderate to high. What about when you're not serving food? You're just inviting some people over for wine, maybe before you go to the theater or before you go to dinner. When selecting a wine for an event where no food is to be served, you would do well to serve wines which come from very ripe, high in sugar. We're going to reverse our strategy. We've been talking about wines and what food goes with the wine. Now we're going to start saying what, starting with the food and saying what wine goes with that food. So if we're pairing appetizers, a dry wine like a Sauvignon Blanc would work well for scallops wrapped in bacon. And that's red, bold, underlined, that's everything, right? So you're going to remember that for the tests. What would you serve with scallops wrapped in bacon? Sauvignon Blanc. Or the question might be, Sauvignon Blanc would go well with scallops wrapped in bacon. Dry fortified wine, sherry or Madeira, would work well with appetizers like prosciutto wrapped figs. Bubbles assist with refreshing the palate, so champagne is a good choice for appetizers where you're going from one kind of appetizer to another. So the champagne bubbles are going to kind of scrub your mouth and get you ready for the next different appetizer you'd like to try. And Pinot Blanc works well with sushi. Pairing strategies for salads. Vinaigrette-based dressings work with white, rosé, or sparkling wines that are light to medium-bodied, ample acidity. Sparkling wines, Sauvignon Blanc, Pinot Grigio, Pinot Gris, Riesling, unoaked Chardonnay. Pairing strategies for cheese. Now, before I move on to this slide and the slides coming up, there's a lot of words on the slides coming up. How much did I expect you to remember from all that? Not much. I'm going to point out to you what you need for the test. And other than that, I would suggest you make some notes, general notes for yourself, but I'm not expecting you to memorize all this stuff. Pairing with soups. Clear, simple soups work best with light-bodied acidic white wines, Riesling, Pinot Grigio, Pinot Gris, Blanc de Blanc, sparkling wine. Thin-based soups with elements of vegetables, grain. Vegetarian-based dishes work well generally with light and medium-bodied white wines. Sparkling wine, rosés, light-bodied red wines pair best with pasta-based dishes. Meatballs, sausage, or bacon can work well with Pinot Noir, Barbera, Dolce. Pairing strategies for spaghetti with sausage. Strongly flavored dish like spaghetti with sausage would pair well with Chianti Classico.